Hello, everyone. It's Shane Conto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew podcasting network. And this is my weekly show where guests and I play some movie roulette and randomly select a movie from my enormous watch list, which could be basically anything, because this certainly was something.
Mhm.
And joining me for this week's episode is my buddy Luke. Luke, thank you so much for coming on.
Anytime. Shane, did you know waste is bad?
I didn't until I watched this TV newscast that got nominated for Best Documentary Short at the Academy Awards, which is why it was on my watch list. Because
Mm.
if it has been nominated for an Oscar, it's on there.
Mm.
Um, and this is The Killing Ground from 1979, this 48-minute TV newscast special directed by Tom Priestley and has Britt Hume. So, a
Mhm.
little backstory. So, I grew up in a Fox News home. So, my mom and my grandparents had Fox News on all the time, even like during our night, our shows at night on commercials. My mom would still flip over to Fox News and watch whatever the hell they were talking about. And Britt Hume, I think I don't know if he's still at Fox News anymore. He was at Fox News for a long time, so I knew who Britt Hume was. And hearing his voice, I'm like, oh my god, is that Britt Hume? And then they showed him, I'm like, he's so much younger. Like, it's
Did
him.
you did you have like a Ratatouille moment where it brought you back into your childhood?
Yes, instead of eating ratatouille, it was me consuming Fox News with my mom. It just had that kind of moment.
Yep.
But no, this is the Killing Ground examines toxic waste. Its effects on human health and failures by government agencies and chemical companies to keep it contained. Oh boy, is this also topical? This episode's coming out much later into. We're recording this in early February, just for context. A lot more can happen over the next couple months before this episode comes
Can
out.
you imagine?
But I have a sinking feeling that there's going to be a lot less regulations by the government on chemical waste dumping by the time this episode comes out. But yes, this before I dive in anymore. Look, what are
Mhm.
your general thoughts? And especially from somebody who's not from America.
I thought, why are we watching this? And I was like, oh, this wasn't nominated because it literally feels like a segment from 60 Minutes, right? It's an
It
hour
more or
long.
less is.
Yes, except it's ABC News, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I don't know. Maybe 60 Minutes is on ABC because I'm not American. You tell me. But I was like, oh, it was nominated for an Oscar. I now understand. And then I'm like,
Yep.
it's wild to me how many things have changed in like 80s and 90s, and now we are kind of seeing that kind of like rolling back, and
Mhm.
people the protections being in place for you know, this chemical causes this, this chemical causes this chemical is linked to this. And now we have people, or you guys have people in government that tell you that vaccines are dangerous. And I'm like, yeah, we've been a bit spoiled. So it's kind of fun. It
Well,
was,
and I
yeah,
feel just to throw it in a point too, and I think this is important that I think this is important context to humanity that makes this make more sense.
yeah.
Why do we invent vaccines? Why do we invent regulations? Because stuff happens, hurts
Hmm.
a lot of people, and then we're afraid.
Like as many
And
people
that,
pointed out, regulations are written in blood. Most regulations are written in blood because something has happened,
yes,
was bad, somebody's died, or many somebodies died.
and no matter like this is going to be it might be a strange connection, but bear with me.
Okay.
People complain about cancel culture all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Cancel culture doesn't exist because humanity has too short of an attention span to remember
Mm-hmm.
that people did bad things and they'll get over it pretty quickly. Same thing here. People will forget pretty quickly. It only takes like a generation to be
Yep.
like, well, I never had any like dealing with any weird mutations because of chemical waste. How bad could chemical waste be? And after a while, people forget how bad those things can be. And
Mm-hmm.
then they're like, we don't need these regulations. And then you take away those regulations, and then another generation away, bad stuff happens. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's a vicious cycle because people just, refuse to learn lessons. And I feel like the fact that this came out in 1979 and that this is going to be a new reality, like toxic waste does a lot of horrible things to people.
And
And
like even they point out, they you don't. I think the most dangerous part about this specific issue, they pointed out several times. You don't see the results until like 20, 30 years from then, right? It's not instantaneous. So like if somebody rolls back some regulations, you don't see you don't see like any kind of problem, quote unquote, next week or next month. It takes generations, but
mm,
that's the most dangerous thing about this specific issue. It's not anything that's visible straight away, but it will fuck you up eventually.
well, my wife had very little health issues until high school
Mm-hmm.
and had like a tumor and had all these things. And she grew up near a super site
Mm-hmm.
for like stuff like this. And it notoriously caused a whole bunch of things like and serious health issues happening to people. And now
Mm-hmm.
my wife has health issues out the wazoo. And it's like this kind of stuff can drastically affect things. Like to stop harping on the general topic and more
Mm-hmm.
about the film.
Yeah,
This is not going to be a movie that you just casually throw on to watch because even if you love documentaries, like this feels like you're watching the news. Like
100%.
100%. Like I felt like I was sitting there on like a Friday night when my grandparents still had Fox 29 on, thinking about all the news stories that were coming on. And you have somebody walking down the street with a microphone talking in this tone. And this is bad things happening. It's like it's that exact feel because Britt Hume literally did that in this documentary. Like he's walking down like a little stretch with the microphone and everything and just talking at the camera. And obviously it has a lot of weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's an important thing to watch. It's just from a technical standpoint, this doesn't have a whole lot of interesting things to do from like a technical standpoint in a film and really does lean into those like tropes of how you structure a newscast.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's still really important stuff that they're tackling and talking about. So it's important for you to watch stuff like that and never forget.
In a weird way, like its biggest flex or its biggest kind of like a advantage, it's its also biggest downfall because it's literally just a news stretch into 50 minutes. But given it's non-flashy, it's very news-like, gives you the facts, gives you everything you need to know in a very, straight to the point. No bedazzling here, no fancy editing here, no fancy music. Not like, I think that's maybe why there's a disconnect between. Well, first of all, it's from 1979, so like we know those problems have now multiplied. That's a one
Mm,
thing for me at least. But a second thing is, imagine this today. There would be like, how many quick edits would there be? How many sound effects, different sound effects would there be? How many fancy schmancy graphics would there be? This again, it gets to you in a way where it's like, yeah, it's just a news, or that's for 50 stretched to 50 minutes. But because of that, it kind of feels boring. But the best news should be kind of boring. The best news should be as impartial as possible, gives you all the facts,
mhm.
verifiable facts, not opinions. You don't see many opinions there. You see, this is linked to this. This is presumed to cause this disease. And then it's up to you. What are you gonna deal with that? Like when they show these are the sites that are suspected, like in this, and they're like a list and keeps on going and keeps on going and keeps on going, and I'm like, and this was in 1979, right?
There's definitely more now,
I was gonna
or at
say, like,
least in the years since, there's
how
definitely more.
many, yeah, in 50 years from then now, like, or 40, quick math, like
45.
how, yeah, how many, almost 50 actually, yeah. I still have 2020 here. I don't know, but like it's
We're all stuck in a time loop back in
correct.
2020.
So I think that that's the biggest advantage is also its biggest disadvantage because it doesn't have the fancy, bells and bells and whistles and all that glitter. It just feels very to the point. Like even John Oliver, when he gives you some bad news, he knows how to pack it up. So it's like, the 20-30 minutes you watch John
This
Oliver
is
show.
just it.
Correct.
Like
Yes.
they deliver the information in a very straightforward
Mm-hmm.
and like it doesn't sensationalize the emotion of the situation.
Correct.
And this this film as a film brings a lot of thoughts to my head about just the evolution of regulation, but also news,
Mm-hmm.
like you're pointing out. Like I just think about Anchorman, the Legend Continues, where it's
Yep.
like, and now for our 16th puppy video of the night. And they win the ratings because it's all like American puppies.
Yep.
And like that's the 24 news hour news changed things because
Mm-hmm.
it's no longer news that you tune into for a select like this part of my day is to see what's going on in the world. It's not entertainment, it's for me to get information.
Yes.
News is entertainment now.
Mm-hmm.
And this feels like a newscast well before news
Mm-hmm.
became entertainment. And to be frank, news shouldn't be entertainment. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion to throw out there,
No.
but I don't think news should be entertainment. But the thing is, when you're dedicating a whole entire network to news, you need ratings. So then you have to do things that are going to get. And then that's kind of to the detriment
Mm-hmm.
of said
Yep.
news.
Yep.
So I don't know. Just throwing that out there. So this film has some very interesting greater context to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like would I ever watch this again? Well, one, no, because it was depressing. And two, it was just a newscast, so I don't casually just look up old newscasts and watch
Me
them.
neither.
But it is interesting because a couple of the Academy Award nominated documentary shorts are new, like they're from news. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's like a New Yorker
Mm-hmm.
produced film that's nominated this year and stuff like that. But like this literally was a newscast. Like
Yeah.
this aired on TV and was framed that way. And it's interesting the kind of attention stuff like this used to get.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, do you think anybody would consider any news of any kind of artistic value or meaning at this point? I wouldn't, to be honest. Because or at least let me reframe that comment. Would
Mm-hmm.
I think any news from the United States is of any merit? No, because it's a whole bunch of nonsense at this point. But
It's not even that. I'll rephrase your question differently. If I say to you, "Hey Shane, let's watch this news. It's a very important topic. It doesn't have to be toxic waste. That has to be other thing, awful thing, right? But instead of we watch it with John Oliver, like, where he spices some jokes into it, so makes it more bearable, or like 3 minute segment, I'll tell you, but it's 50 minutes. There's no jokes. There's no fancy camera. There's no fancy editing. It's just 50 minutes of like proper like not even a torture porn, just like sad porn, and just like you'll be sad because of it, and there's not gonna be anything to distract you. Will you sit through 50 minutes of that? Probably not, and I wouldn't.
um well, did anybody get murdered?
See, yeah. Is
Because
there guns?
well
Guns?
here's the thing, Luke.
Mm.
People will sit through this shit if it's about people getting murdered. If it was a serial killer, people watch this
Oh
for
yeah.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's called true crime, which a whole generation of people are
Mm-hmm.
obsessed with. At least I'm speaking at least from the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Millennials are obsessed with true crime. Like if this 50-minute news story was about a serial killer, they'd be all over the shit.
Oh yeah.
But because it's toxic waste, which probably did more damage and killed more people than those serial killers, it's not as interesting because it's not about cool. Uh, I'm using air quotes, people listening, cool
Mm-hmm.
because we have turned serial killers into some kind of like entertainment idols for us to enjoy. But that's a this film is triggering and in context to all kinds of things that we process today. But no, when I sit there and watch a 50-minute news story, no. If
Mm-hmm.
somebody showed me, it's like, hey, this is a really important thing to check out. It came from the news last night, and you look at that YouTube video, and it's 50 minutes, and you're just like,
Yep.
I don't know if I could watch any news for 50 minutes in a row. So
And that's
just
on us, I think. That's on us.
uh well, this was an interesting conversation.
Well, this was
Um
fun.
and at the end of the day, toxic waste is bad. It kills people. It
Mm-hmm.
causes all kinds of health issues. And this is a very, very dry, informative, and direct way of learning those things from
100%.
1979. And you know what? There's probably infinitely more things that we in society are putting in things, you're using and dumping, and all kinds of stuff that is also causing horrible things to our bodies. But here in America, just keep on doing it.
You
So,
guys are celebrating it.
oh man. But Luke,
Mm.
thank you so much for coming on and joining me for this depressing discussion.
Anytime? Question mark?
But thank all of you for listening. Do any of you have a particular newscast that you like to go watch? Any news segments? I bring that up because there is like mob talk on Fox 29 from where I'm around from, and like they talk about like mafia stories and stuff like that.
Oh.
Also, true crime. So yeah, it just keeps cycling back. You know what? That's what I should ask. What's your favorite go-to true crime stuff? Because if you tell me you don't watch any, I'm a little skeptical, but make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. We have plenty of new things coming your way here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. A lot of great new shows, a lot of great new guests. If you want to get involved, contact us. And if you like our logo, make sure to check out HiFlyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.